Hi everyone, this is Ankhi-Krol. Today we have with us Ryan Knock of Knock It Out Music. He is a music producer and an all-around fantastic human being. I met Ryan several years ago at a networking event and we have become friends, and he is also one of my clients for Ankhi-Krol Law. So today I will have him introduce himself a little bit better than I have so you can understand what it is that he does. Ryan?
Thank you, Sharina, and it's a pleasure to be on this call with you. You're awesome, as everybody on this channel knows. My name is Ryan Knock. I'm a music producer and composer with Knock It Out Music. I create music for commercials and TV.
And Ryan also has really catchy jingles and really catchy sayings that everyone that knows him kind of expect from this point, from the time that they meet him. So Ryan, do you have any jingles for today, right off the top of your head? I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't, but if I try, I'm going to scare people away because I let the singing happen as it relates to, I let other people handle the singing. I'm really just more the musician oversight person than I am the singer-songwriter. So unfortunately not. But if you go with Ankhi-Krol, your business will never be dull. Nope, that's terrible. All right, we're going to keep working that. I'll let you know how that turns out.
Okay. Okay. So scratch that. Never mind. I was just following him on social media, and he seems to be singing there, really offbeat, but he just proved my point.
I think
Anyway, do follow
you're
him on social media. He's a fun one to follow. So I will put that information in the details below. But let's learn a little bit more about how Ryan came to be Ryan Knock of Knock It Out Music. Ryan, were you always interested in becoming a music producer?
I was always interested, but I was not pursuing it for for the first part of my career because my parents scared me into knowing better. Um, and I actually studied accounting in college. I was always interested in music. My friend was rapping when we were in high school, and I was creating background instrumentals. But I really didn't see a path to, even though I really enjoyed the process, I didn't see a path to becoming a full-time musician. I mean, it's just like pie in the sky, like, oh, this isn't a real thing that I can do. It wasn't until I got to college and I started working with other musicians and artists that the passion really grew. Meanwhile, I was pursuing this accounting degree, pretty much to make my parents happy, and also to have like something to fall back on, which I saw value in at the time. And that was my first job, was actually at Ernst and Young, where I was a CPA and auditor, and then I worked at a smaller firm. So I did the whole corporate America thing for 4 years. And this is all, while music was playing in the background, so to speak. I was always still producing music at nights and on the weekends, but it wasn't until a family friend gave me an opportunity to score music for an advertisement that I said, oh, wow, look, here's a real thing that I can, use to make a career from. And I can make a living. And I ultimately seized on that opportunity and did a little bit of research and left my job, and the rest is history.
So was it scary at all for you in the beginning when you just left your accounting life behind?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a real, you know, I think any entrepreneur, if you're a lawyer, if you're a musician, if you're a filmmaker, whatever, health and wellness, when you it takes some real gutsiness to just make that first leap. You just, even every day is like, how am I going to make this thing work? Every entrepreneur goes through it, that internal conversation. Oh my God, am I in the right path of my life? I don't know. But I think that the first 2 years really was like, wow, what am I doing here? And ultimately, it takes, I think, that long, just being out in the world and letting clients and prospective clients know that you exist before it really starts to get going. And then it's never just on, people have this magical thought that being an entrepreneur, oh, I just get to a point and it's on autopilot. no, it's never on autopilot per se. I would say that at some point you're just able to ride the highs and the lows a little, a little bit better and have more of a feel for the pulse of the business that you work in after those first couple of years. But if you can make it through those, I'd say that you have the wherewithal to continue for a while.
So what's been your biggest challenge doing this, the transition from accounting to music?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest challenge is there's so many challenges when it comes to working in music for ads. I'll talk about one,
You
which
can give
is
us more than one if you
knowing,
want.
well, it's knowing what it means when they say, I don't like that. The thing is, as a music producer who creates music for commercials and TV, like everyone has different tastes when it comes to what they hold near and dear to their heart as it relates to music. I mean, even just going on a car ride with four of your friends, somebody puts on Led Zeppelin. Oh, that's great. I don't really want to, I'm not in the mood for that. Somebody else puts on Hans Zimmer. Someone else puts on Jay-Z. Another person puts on John Coltrane. And so, everyone has got a different, there's a lot of overlap in what is the least common denominator of the right song to play for the moment. But yeah, people have different tastes, and that is what I'm dealing with times three when you're dealing with creatives that work at an advertising agency who say, well, we think we want to go a little bit happier. Something about it is not quite as happy. Okay, what do they mean by they say something is not quite as happy? So then I have to sort of translate, is it a bell that's playing in the background? Is it, the tempo of the track? Is it, how many layers are playing in the back? Does it not have enough energy? And so using all this information, I basically have to provide examples of things that I think might work. And it's a little bit of an art and it's a little bit of a science. And then there's that's the creative, one of the creative challenges. And then there's the business challenge, which is I work in what's called a red ocean industry, which is lots of competitors fighting for a little piece of the pie. And I think entertainment and creativity overall is like that. So being at your best, at our best at any one given time is not even an option. It's a necessity. And then even when you're at your best, sometimes there's still going to be creative differences and things are not going to work out. But overall, the wins are able to make up for the losses. And that is something I really struggled with. I think I still struggle with it today, that sometimes clients are just not going to go for it. And then other times they do. And that's really rewarding. But yeah, absolutely a challenge that all composers deal with in playing in the business of advertising.
Okay, so I must ask you now, are your parents happy with what you've done with your career choice at this point?
Can't really say, but I would say that they're happy when things go my way. Oh, cool little ad for Prudential or Sony, or that you got your track in the NCAA tournament. All parents want their children to do well, and I think from that perspective, they're happy that to see the trajectory of where I came from to where I am now. I think if I'm as far as I'm personally concerned, if I'm able to work in this career for the rest of my life, money is important, but I think there is more value in making a career doing something that I'm absolutely excited about most days. I would, everyone's going to have their days when they just hate their job. I'm sure you as a lawyer, there's some days you're just like, what am I doing? But for the most part, there's nothing else you would do. You can't imagine yourself in any other path. And
I certainly couldn't make music, that's for sure.
And I couldn't be a lawyer. So we're even. But I'd say, the thing about being passionate is sometimes there's going to be money and sometimes there's not going to be money in terms of how well you do on any one given year. And, if you factor all that in, ultimately it's the work that keeps you excited. so there's that, and that I'm proud about where I'm going to be, or where I am, and where I anticipate being, as the years go on.
Great. Actually, that's a really great point that you bring up, the happiness factor. A lot of entrepreneurs struggle with the fact that, they're not making their families happy, or they're not where they were supposed to be, quote unquote, where they imagined themselves to be. And they're scared to take that leap of faith, which is why I thought you'd be a great guest for this talk, because you have taken such a huge leap of faith, and you're doing great. And you started from scratch, and now you have clients who are, some of who are really big, as I've seen, and as you mentioned during this talk too. And it's important to remember that your happiness really relies within what you're doing. Is it bringing you happiness? It's not necessarily for the happiness of others, even our parents, or relatives, friends, things like that. So that's a good point. Tell me what you've been doing during quarantine. I know you're doing some exciting things that are not, are not things that you normally would have thought about if we weren't in this situation. So let's talk about that.
Sure. So besides fixing my hair and adjusting and making sure that I look okay for a Zoom call, I don't look like a crazy person. I've been I've been trying to stay busy. One particular project sort of took off. This song that we created for our frontline workers, medical workers, first responders, called "Saving Us." Essentially, I had been feeling helpless that I had not been able to do something for these people that are sacrificing their life for us in ways that some of them said that they signed up for, but many did not sign up for. This is a crazy thing. Everybody knows, nobody's dealt with this in their lifetime, and these people are out there, putting themselves before us. And the notion in the very beginning was, oh, well, like I thought to myself, what could I do? And the notion is, oh, the best thing you can do is stay at home. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I sort of, I don't know, I felt like there has to be something else that I can do. And I had been watching the news, and sometimes I have ideas late at night, and I write them down, and then sometimes I just go to sleep. But it was about 3 o'clock in the morning one night, and this idea for a chorus came to my head, and I recorded the chorus, and I thought I would listen to it the next morning. I said, this is terrible. But let me send it to my friend John, who's a much better singer than I am. Let me see what he thinks. Sometimes we just like to bounce things off of each other, and he liked the idea, and he ultimately took it and made what I did 20 times better, added, more lyrics. I also provided the music track, and then eventually we got our third friend involved, Kevin, who did the background vocals and some additional production. And this song, we made a montage video of different nurses and doctors, being celebrated in front of NYU. And we have pulled together, I have a cousin who is a doctor in Hawaii. We asked her to submit pictures of her and her emergency unit at the hospital. And Kevin, one of the singers, his girlfriend is a nurse at Johns Hopkins. We put this montage video together, and it got shared like nothing I've ever put out before. Everybody, I guess, moved by this piece as a whole. The song, we wanted to pull at the heartstrings with the song, but when you put it together with the imagery, it really gives it a whole new level of weight. And that, I think, speaks to, how much scoring for a picture, those two things work hand in hand with my day-to-day. And ultimately, People got wind of what we were doing, People magazine, and did a write-up. We did an interview with News 12, the Bronx, a few days later. We did, so an editor was putting together a thing called Corona Hustle for ABC's 20, it was a segment of ABC's 2020. We did an interview with them, and for nurse.org. And ultimately, this this had some level of impact to the point where different doctors, nurses, and just random people on TikTok began sharing the song, and doing their own montage video all over the world. I mean, the weirdest thing was seeing, little kids in India and the UK, sharing pictures of family members who were on the front lines with this song. I'm like, how did they find this thing? And it's really touching and moving, because most of what I do sort of lives in obscurity. It's background music for a commercial or a TV show, and yes, it's nice, it's heard by a lot of people, but it's never the foreground of the thing. And while I am familiar with that world, making records, this just was a different animal. And 100% of the proceeds of what we're as it relates to the song, streaming and licensing fees, are going to the hardest hit New York City area hospital, specifically Elmhurst Hospital, Holy Name Hospital, and probably some more Manhattan facilities. But all of that considered, this has still been an amazing thing to be a part of. And I don't know that any amount of money, can give me the joy that this has given me. Maybe $1 million, but I would say this has been a pretty awesome thing, and I'm very lucky to have a support system around me that's helped to create this thing.
That's fantastic. I will have the link to your video and your music, if you want to include that in the details of this video, so people can see what we're talking about. And I just wanted to mention, what a fantastic way of staying relevant and giving back. When I think about musicians and what they can do at this time, unless you're a huge celebrity, I can't really think of anything that they could potentially do. But that's where Ryan's genius comes in, and he did something, he put it out there, and he did it with passion, and it took off. So the power of social media is really incredible, and I hope it really brings you a lot more joy and pride, and hopefully the $1 million that you're looking for. And I'm so proud of you that you are giving 100% of the proceeds to frontline workers. My mom is a nurse, so I understand the importance of everyone that is being helped by the proceeds. I really hope whoever's watching this, considers either donating or sharing it on their social media. Maybe it'll be picked up by someone else, and ultimately our frontline workers will be even at an even better place than they are right now because of Ryan's music. I will definitely put that link down there. Ryan, is that okay if we do that?
Absolutely. You don't have to tell the musician twice if they want their music shared. So
And you
yeah.
never know, there might be copyright issues. As a copyright attorney, I do have to worry about that, because I don't want to be sued by my own client later. Yeah, so is there any words of wisdom you have for people who are in your situation, or who, in your situation in your previous life? If they're trying to if they're thinking about transitioning to a field that's completely different from what they went to school for, or where they imagined they would be in the future, do you have any words for them?
I would say try everything, throw everything at the wall, and then when you're done throwing everything at the wall, throw it against the ceiling, and then throw it on the ground, and then throw it out the window. You basically have to try to do your absolute best. You're never done finding new avenues to try to fit in with your art and your creativity. You don't even have to be the best musician in the world, but maybe you can be the best at like, you could be in the top, let's say 75% in 2 or 3 different areas, and be the best aggregate of those things. For example, people think, oh, you have to be a musician, you have to be in the top, 1%. And maybe that's true. But if you're in the top 25% of being a musician, but also a blogger also someone who likes to cook, maybe you're the best sum of all of those parts. And the way that you put that media out into the world, the format, has a lot to do with it as well. A great example is DJ Khaled. Now, while DJ Khaled was great at, being a DJ and being a music producer, I didn't really, know him and get to know him better until he started being inspirational on Snapchat and the whole "we the best." I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with who he was screaming on the tracks. But when that thing happened for him, I think he became a part of the zeitgeist, a part of the cultural conversation that went beyond just music. And then people ultimately, he developed more, I think, more of a fanship and following that way. So that's an example, again, combining parts, trying when one thing isn't working, trying another direction, and not being afraid to try new things, even if something is working. Because, Donald Glover, if he decided he was just going to be an actor and pursue only that path, he would have never, become a successful rapper, a Childish Gambino, again, and vice versa, because he really was so many things at any one time. But there's this notion in the past, and I think in general, when people know you as an artist or as a lawyer or as accountant, whatever it is, they know you only as this one thing. And that's a very traditional way of looking at things. And even a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their mind around the fact that you might be more, Sharina might be an amazing cook, and she could have a channel that, I'm not saying that you're not a great cook, but you could be.
I turned out to be, actually, thanks to this quarantine. I'm cooking everything.
And maybe we'll learn about one of your dishes, but you would never know unless you said, I'm going to put this material out into the world, and try it. And who knows, like Jim Carrey is everyone knows him for being a funny actor, but he started doing serious movies. And then same with Adam Sandler. But then Jim Carrey also started painting. And so, people have different, I think it's important that people continue to, if you're in one area, don't be afraid to try a new area. And because that may be your windfall. So that is very much a 2020 mindset. I would say, so much can be said too about persistence. I'm very dedicated to staying in touch with a lot of prospective clients. And there have been, without being annoying, I try to stay in touch with prospective clients every month to a month and a half. And there are people that I have been reaching out to for 4 and 5 years, no response. And after 4 or 5 years, in a couple of cases, it was about that long. Someone got back to me and said, hey, I have a project that may be a good fit. So you never know, even when you're sending out communication and people aren't responding, it doesn't mean they don't know that you're there. So there's something to be said about persistence until they tell you not to communicate with them anymore. But if you're, tasteful and tactful with how you communicate with perspectives, there's the door is always open.
Yeah, and adding to that, nowadays it's a lot easier to stay in touch, not just on one medium, not just, through, like, for example, email. If you're connected with your clients through social media, like, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, on business related accounts, of course, not your personal accounts. I know a lot of people make that mistake of mixing personal issues with business. That's always a little iffy for me, but staying in touch with your clients or potential clients through those mediums, if they are for business, is a great way of staying at the top of their minds, right? I think you do it pretty well too, Ryan. You have little tunes and jingles here and there, and they're funny. And even if they're funny and you're laughing, that this is something that he created. So you can translate that to a more serious issue if you needed to. So I think he does a good job of that. So congrats on that.
Thank you. Yeah, you want to be able to put yourself, and I think every entrepreneur goes through this struggle. You want to develop a personal relationship with every prospective client, but it's just it's so hard to get someone on the phone, or maybe it's hard to just get them out for a meeting. But if they discover you via social media, you can put little nuggets of your personality into their news feed, and that can, if you're constantly giving and giving and giving information, tips, things that they can, use to evaluate your competency in whatever you do, and or humor, personality. I mean, it's two things, right? That ultimately that make people want to work with you. Is one, is this person warm? Are they going to, really from a much more visceral perspective? Is this person going to kill me? And two, are they competent in what they do, right? So can I trust this person, and are they competent in what they do? And social media allows you to demonstrate both of those things without it being a hard sell. So I would say that, messaging is very important and a great way to develop new opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't tell you how many clients I got recently, over the last few years from Instagram, and something that I didn't ever expect to happen. However, some of my largest clients, biggest clients came from Instagram. And when I started my Instagram account a few years ago, I wasn't even sure about what I was going to post because, let's face it, lawyers, what are they going to post? Papers, books, those things are really boring. So I was trying to figure out things that my clients may want to see. And I thought, hey, maybe they want to see me as a human being instead of someone that's always talking about law here and law there, although I love to do that. You need to be able to connect to your clients and potential clients as a human first and foremost. And I think you summed it up pretty well.
I think it's great that you're a human. I think it's important that people know that you're, from
That
this
is a
planet,
good part.
and you're an animal, a Homo sapien. It's first and foremost, that's going to connect with people. But then you're also, great to talk to, and a pleasure to work with. So of course, all those things are going to tie in together with the human thing.
Thank you, Ryan. That was really nice of you. So with that said, I won't hold you up any longer. I'll let you go and work on some other magic, something new. Maybe that will take over the world next. I will put all your information down below. And everyone, if you like to see videos like this where we talk to different entrepreneurs on various topics and also how people are dealing with the quarantine with COVID-19, please do subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye. Thanks,
Thank you,
Ryan.
Serena. Bye.